you'll see the spread, like just LA goes forever. Well, Phoenix is kind of like that. It just spreads and spreads and spreads. It goes and goes and goes. Welcome everybody to our what are we doing here? We're doing our Success Mastermind, and it is the 12th of October, Monday. Happy Columbus Day to everyone. Certainly all of our Italian friends, but also all of our American friends. We're sitting here on this continent doing the American thing. Thanks, Chris, for helping out with that. Welcome. Let's see who else we have on here. We have, how do I do this now? Of course, Zoom had to change their settings. Of course, Adrian's here. Bill, good to see you, brother. We had a bit of a, I was tuning into your conversation just before we went live. So we're going to take that up here a little bit today. Of course, I see Nikki and John. Allie's here. Good to see you, Rose, Koila, Jane, and Neil. And the other Jane Akinyalu, good to see you as well. And we've got Ivier here, Joe and Gina, Mark, Mary, Suzanne, Jamie. Welcome, Coral, Nancy, Evelyn, Therese, Adrian, Jay, and we have multiple Adrians here and multiple Evelyns. Welcome, Daisy, Jody, Caroline, and that's all I can fit on one screen as I'm looking at you guys. Quick announcement. I know our friend Nicola, who hosts our group intention meditation on Tuesday mornings, is on a flight tomorrow. I'm on a flight tomorrow at that same time as well, going to different places. But we may be suspending the group meditation event tomorrow unless somebody else wants to step up and do that. One of our existing facilitators, if you want to step up, let me know. Also, happy Thanksgiving Day to our Canadians. So not only do we have Columbus Day, it's Thanksgiving. You know what? When we get closer to American Thanksgiving, I want to do a Thanksgiving theme. There's actually a lot of significance around that holiday. It's a really important holiday, at least from our perspective here in the States. I'm not sure how you view it up in Canada, but it's a pretty big deal here in the States. And a lot of people don't really get it. A lot of Americans don't really get what actually happened with that and why we celebrate that. So, and what else are we celebrating here today? I know it also says on my calendar, Indigenous Peoples Day. So happy Indigenous Peoples Day to you as well. You celebrate that. And where else are we here? I'm just looking at the chat. Right. So today is Monday. Excuse me, Monday. For all of our full-blown members here with the JL Success Mastermind, we do have today at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern U.S. time. We do have an e-commerce work group with Stuart Wild. So that's great for people who are pursuing e-commerce or online business in various forms. I wouldn't say necessarily like affiliate programs and things like that. That's a different school of thought. But in terms of e-commerce, a lot of people use the Amazon platform. There's other platforms as well. Amazon's obviously the biggest. But we do have in our members only Facebook group, we do have a couple of posts. Thank you to Evelyn and Therese and the others here in the Facebook group who are more active in that group and helping manage it. I'm not the manager of that, but we do have where you can put requests and questions like, here's my e-commerce issue that I'd like to take up, right? And then we actually see that stuff where people like Stuart, the Llama King, sees that. He'll be hosting again at 7:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. And then, of course, it's Monday, so we wrap up each Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern U.S. time with our book study. Today we are studying and have been studying for the past week the chapter on imagination from the original text of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill as published in the beginning of 1937. So imagination, which I want to talk a little bit about here today. Imagination. We do have a lot of people with, just before we went live, a lot of people with thoughts, ideas, opinions about how things in the world could be run better. And I'll tell you what, I agree. There's lots of room for improvement. And I know we also have someone here in our midst who has gone down the road of attempting to affect change in the world of governance and politics. And I know we've got a few people who clearly are affecting change in your own microcosms, and then looking to expand that into a greater sphere of influence, I think is a tall order, but I think is also something that's quite noble. And that's what I wanted to talk with everyone about today, because I think quite often I could see the mistakes I'll give you an example. I can see the mistakes of others, and she's in the next room right now, so I'll speak a little bit quietly. My daughter. Okay, so I love my daughter. She's the most important and precious person in my life. She's turning 10 this week. In fact, that's one of the reasons we're taking a flight, is that mom's got business in Salt Lake City. We're going to head up there and have a little fun time and then head back here and have a birthday party. Um, but there are things that she hasn't developed that I've developed. There are things that she can't see that I can see. And the one that's coming up for me, which is most easy to identify and I guess be critical of, would be clean your space. We've talked about this before. Now, my office, you guys probably noticed every time you see me in my office, it's exactly the same. It's immaculate. That's how I work. And I told her, the way to never have to clean up your room is to just keep it clean. Then you never have to clean it. That's what I do, right? Um, I am flawed in one way that I allow dust to collect. Sometimes I do have to dust a little bit more diligently. Okay. But as far as the placement of stuff, where's my stuff? I can close my eyes and find my stuff. Some people spend half their time, a lot of people spend half their time just looking for their stuff. If that's you or if that's been you, right? So to create order and to maintain order is something that I've got an eye for. I love order. Okay, that doesn't mean that I sit there and I obsess over it. Actually, maybe I do, but I have the ability to put things in order, and then I like to keep them in order. And that's something that I feel like would be a strong suit of mine. Okay. It's not her strong suit, at least not yet. So we're training that in, and there's rewards for that, right? One reward is you get to play. You get more playtime. Once the work is done, right? That's a done. Okay, great. And we inspect, mom or dad inspects, we get to go out and play. Now, look, we're all still kids inside. In fact, I remember being on a conference call with Jack Canfield of Chicken Soup for the Soul fame, and he's done many lectures to adults, right? But he started as a child lecturer in schools. He would go in and lecture students, and then one day the faculty said, "Hey, would you come and talk to the staff? We really liked your lecture or whatever." And I think grown-ups deserve to hear this stuff too. He's like, "Sure." And then he got into more, doing adult lectures and then writing the books and all this. But what he said he realized is that these are all children. They're just 40 years old and dressed in business suits. They're still kids, right? And so if we can approach training ourselves or others in that way, or if we can observe our own motivations in that way, what are people motivated by? Hope for gain, fear of loss, right? Just like why do so many laboratories use studies? They use mice, right, for behavior analysis and experiments and such, because mice have that very binary sort of drive. I want the cheese and I want to avoid cats, right? So there's the hope for gain and there's the fear of loss or pain. So if we look at that, just like we're still children inside, can we see what motivates us? And can we also look, and this is, I think, something a little bit harder to do, can we look at the motivations of others where we may have been critical and say, oh, that's why they're doing it. Right now I understand. So compassion comes with understanding. I can't have empathy for you if I don't understand you. And there are certain components that we can work on to help us do that. And I do that in business. And it's maybe a lot of money, by the way. I do that in business. I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I've done or explain to you to the best of my ability, some of the stuff that I've focused on for myself, having observed myself and then having observed other things that I would consider outpoints or deficiencies or incompetencies, things like that. So we're seeing here, all right, there's a messy room. That's the observable fact of that. And then, we go and we put in order and we coach that person. But what about when people don't want coaching? Now, as the authority in my household, right, I can enforce, right? I can enforce the cleaning of the room. I can enforce that. We don't get to go for ice cream until the room is clean. We don't get to go to the arts and crafts store to buy yet more arts and crafts supplies. Where are we going to put them? I don't know, but we don't get to do that until we have order in the space. Therefore, We have a place to put the stuff in the space because the space has a void, and it's called a clean area, where we can put the additional stuff that somehow we need to go buy. Um, what if you can't enforce that with other people? Here are, I think, the things that have served me, and I definitely want to hear you guys your thoughts on this. And it's really quite simple. This isn't like nobody's going to get a brain hernia over what I'm about to tell you right now. Uh, but here it is in a nutshell. Anytime I get in communication with someone about something that's already real to them, their affinity for me must go up. Okay, so here is this person, the subject, the target audience, the person that I'm seeking to influence in some way, some positive way, because I know my motives. And I know we were talking earlier just before we went live. I heard a few of you talking about things like governors and politicians and governments in general, where we may question the motives of the person. I certainly have a lot of questions about the motives of certain people who have been elected to powerful positions. And I dare not assume, that their motivations are my motivations. I mean, after all, there is such a thing as power mad, right? Or I could actually liken this to the criminal mind. So can any of you relate to why that person, kicked in the door and raided the house or the business? Can anyone relate to that here in this conversation right now, like in present time? Like, are you motivated to do that? Do you think, can you see the logic? Does crime pay? Like, in your mind, does crime pay? For me, it just doesn't equate. Like, why would anyone do that? I could earn money faster than they can steal it, right? So I don't get it. I don't get it. So is it a lack of education? Is it some sort of a overcompensation for some inferiority complex? It may be a combination of all those things. Okay, I just can't relate to that. Why would one want to wrong their fellow man? Solomon talked about this in Proverbs, how integrity is actually a liability, because you don't think like that. I mean, you don't suspect. If somebody gives you their word, of course you expect them to be their word. Of course, right? Well, not of course. So trust but verify. So back to the original point, right? If I do have or intend to have some influence with a person, let's say a customer, I do intend to have influence and to cause this person to do what? The good intention things that I intend for them. Not criminal minded stuff, but good and right, deliver benefits, right? Offer them solutions to problems, despite the fact that people are typically resistant to making decisions, including and especially decisions that could be really good for them. Has anyone noticed that? Right? Because we get into this pattern, and it's a pattern, right? And it's comfortable. We've got habits, right? Dare I change? No, there's a bit of a terror barrier there, right? Here's the promised land, but here's where I'm at now. At least this is familiar. And for me to cross over into the promised land, man, I got to leave my comfort zone. So that's what goes through a lot of people's minds. The human emotion and reaction to opportunities is palpable, right? I mean, you could see this all the time when offering people. I certainly have seen it plenty of times when offering people, here's an actual solution. If you but choose to participate, right? This can work for you. Well, it's working for all these other people, right? But I'm thinking now, how can I induce decision in the lives of people who, yes, could use a benefit, and again, it's with good and right intention. It's increase for them, okay? But how can I induce decision in people who are typically avoiding decision, professionally avoiding decision? Well, first thing I could do is I can look at myself. What has caused me to avoid those decisions in the past, right? Because we've all had to walk through fire at some point in our lives. And some of us in several occasions, many occasions, we got a lot of really interesting stories here in this mastermind group. I don't think anybody goes through life unscathed. Here's I guess the trick with all this is that those who are willing to confront it and look and get through it, well, those are the people who are engaged in this conversation. So that's why I find this group so valuable, because it's not just a bunch of empty platitudes and people spouting off about theory, which has never bared fruit in their own life, right? We're just going to sit around and theorize and regurgitate third hand and fourth hand what I heard some motivational speaker say. I don't give a crap about the theory. Does it work? Is it workable? Here's a workable theory for you. So I'm here to assist people in making decisions that will benefit them, and with the best of intention. Here's what I do. I can get in communication, and this is where sales and marketing comes in, right? So people ask me sometimes, John, why do you close exponentially higher than other people with the same exact offer, ostensibly the same exact offer? It looks like the same exact offer, but is it? Okay, well, who's doing it? And I know I've introduced this concept before. More important than what you do is who's doing it. We're having an e-commerce work group this evening. Well, that's nice. E-commerce exists. It does. It exists. Amazon exists. Shopify, right? All of it exists for anyone who wants to engage. Who's engaging? Great question. So here I am, and let's say in a sales conversation, right? I am obviously in communication with someone about something. And if we broaden this to the sphere of marketing, right? Marketing, advertising, right? Impinging on the public, putting their attention on something. What are we putting their attention on? On something that is congruent with a conversation that's already happening in their mind. In other words, this is already real. This problem and the potential for a solution is already real in the mind of the ideal target audience. So we're communicating something that's already real to that person. And then their liking for us must increase, their affinity, their tolerance of being close to us or getting closer to us must increase. In other words, coming in our direction, inducing cooperation. That must happen. Now, let's use a crazy example on the opposite side. Let's say you're communicating with someone that is completely unreal to them, right? Like we're on planet Neptar right now, and you're you've got three legs or something, or two heads, right? I mean, you're talking to somebody like a crazy person. That's not real to them. Their affinity for you, their tolerance of being close to you is going to diminish, right? They're going to go in the other direction. That's a crazy person. Get away from them. You guys see how? Hopefully, I'm making this rather obvious, right? So when we find that we can agree with someone about something that's being communicated, and again, that's I think one of the part of the bond of this group, for example, is that we talk about good and right principles and how to apply them more fully into our own lives. That's something we all agree on. That's real for us. The idea that yes, we can be, do, and have more. We can. Other people who don't believe that, who think success is just for lucky people or something, right? They're not in this conversation. This is not real for them. Personal development, self-improvement, applied philosophy, that's right. That's mumbo jumbo. In fact, I meet a lot of those people too in certain like sales and marketing places where they want the magic technique. They want the tactics. They want the tactics, but they don't have the principle. They don't have the purpose. What the hell use is the tactics if you don't have purpose? But anyway, so we get in communication with people about something that's already real to them. One of the things that I do is I work with clients who are looking to create increased financial liberty, short-term and long-term. So not just, let's learn how to make money online. Certainly, I've done that for a long time. But how do we keep and grow money? Because it's not about just how much you make; it's about how much you keep, right? And one of the things that I do when in that communication cycle is that I talk with them about what's going on to them. I get into a Q&A. Well, what's real about this? Why are you even reaching or looking for something, right? What troubles have befallen you? What errors have you made? Let me tell you about some of mine. You want to swap horror stories? Yeah, I could tell you about some stupid stuff that I've done in the area of keeping and growing wealth. Because after all, it's not about how much you make; it's about how much you keep. Yeah, I agree. They don't say that. They may not voice that, but I sense the agreement. So now what? Now what? We're on the same page. We're getting closer and closer. We're talking about the same thing from two different perspectives. And I may have a bit of altitude. I may have a bit more of perspective because certainly on their case, right? Because I'm objective. I'm not in the thick of thin things like they are. So I can be a trusted advisor. And then we have this conversation. And what is happening? What is increasing this whole time? Understanding, right? We understand each other. So They like me more. They're cooperating with me. We're communicating. We're in a dialogue about something that's already real for both of us, right? We get to have a little community here. It could be 2 people, it could be 1,000, but we get to have a little community or a family or a nation or a business organization, a cooperative environment, a workplace where people show up every day because part of their experience is working cooperatively with the others. They may or may not want to be making all the money that they want to make, right? They may be even in a deficit condition, but why do you think people stick around in crappy jobs for years in some cases? One, the comfort of it, but two, the emotional pay of it, the psychic pay. I get to talk to Bob at the water cooler. That's real, right? And we're social creatures. So let's recognize that. So I guess the question for this and the conversation on the floor would be, how can you increase cooperation and understanding with people by getting in communication with them about something that's already real to them? Ask questions, figure out what's going on with you, right? On Wednesday nights, we have our friend Glenn Henderson hosts Networking Magic. This is something that Glenn does all the time. He may not vocalize it the way I do, or take it up as a topic, but I just want you to think about that for yourself. If you're looking to increase cooperation, understanding, sales, right, closing, decisions, influencing your child to clean the room, whatever, fill in the blank, can you get in communication with them about something that no argument is already real to them, right? We can look and we can see objectively, these are the facts. These are things that are happening. And I understand that. And now you understand that. Now we understand each other. It almost sounds too simple. As I hear it coming out of my mouth, it almost sounds too simple. But if there's one thing that out of necessity that I've had to do from a young age is listen to people. In my case, growing up in an abuse condition, I had to listen to find ways to sell myself out of punishments and abuse. I had to listen carefully to not just the words, but between the words, the attitudes, the emotional state. I had to take all that in at a young age. I guess now it's quite an advantage, right? I learned how to sell at like age 6, but yeah, can you do that? Can you be more conscious of people, where they're coming from, what's real to them about that? You can, but we got to listen. And I think, going back to the original point, we have to have the intent of increase, of service, of benefiting those we come into contact with. Criminal-minded people, people in positions of great power because of, what would be the word? Demagoguing. Yeah. In other words, here's all the free stuff you're going to get if you just elect me, right? All that stuff. I don't know how people live with themselves. But as the saying goes, there's an ass for every seat, right? So there's that. But the good and right people, you've got opportunities too, right? So don't look this way or that, thinking that you need to somehow be a mercenary or corrupt or something for you to make it in life or in business. Don't let those examples take you in the wrong direction, away from who you truly are. Because I'm here to tell you that there's lots of room at the top. And I love you guys. And so that's what's coming up for me today, based on the pre-show that I'm hearing and what I was hearing in my brain just before we went live, which there's always all kinds of stuff rattling around up there. Let's increase understanding. Let's get in communication with people. Let's bring them closer to us by finding out what's real for them, what's happening in their lives, and see how we can actually provide benefit, because we are beneficial people. I'm happy to know each of you. And with that, I'm going to stop talking. We are 24 minutes in already. We do have an open floor. And let's see who wants to seize the carp. Carp DM, damn it. Seize the carp. Glenn, you've got the floor, sir.
I'll carp the seas. How do you do, sir? How do you do?
Good.
Nice to be back. I was off the Mastermind grid for a few days.
Were you on a voyage? Were you on the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria?
The Santa Maria, actually. Yeah, it was a business, like an industry, a 3-day industry event, which was very fruitful, very productive, and not just because of the event. What in the world are you talking about, Henderson? Lagniappes, unanticipated benefits and random conversations around official events that redound to our personal and financial benefit. Okay, there's your $5 word for the day. Redound.
Redound. Yeah. I haven't used that word in a while. I actually
Yeah,
used it in a song. It was in song lyrics that I wrote 25 years ago.
exactly. And I am feeling, I'm definitely feeling you on this topic, John. One of my very favorite books that I have on the go right now is a book by a Houston-based journalist named Kate Murphy. The book is called You're Not Listening. What You're Missing and Why It Matters is the subtitle. And this, and you're absolutely right. This is something that has become absolutely paramount for me in my personal life, in my professional life, in my spiritual life. Listen, and by the way, and I will kind of try to keep it as short as I possibly can. I have noticed enormous differences in my results since I decided that the best thing I can do as a networker, as a business leader, is to STFU and listen. You all know what I mean. Um, I have seen people open up to me. I have seen people share things. Kid you not, and I'm just going to say it. I have seen people share things across a cocktail at a bar that they have not told their wives, their husbands, their parents, their kids. Why? Because God gave me two of these and one of these. And that's what is working for me right now more than anything else in my own business practices and tactics, if you want to call them, what I'm doing every day in my daily method of operation. And I'll just leave it with this. Come Wednesday evening, I'm going to share very interesting related to this, John, your topic today. What do women want? That's the topic.
No clue.
I'm sorry. The subtitle, what do men want?
Okay.
What is the one thing that all women want? What is the one thing that all men want? Yes, I'm going to fit this into a networking magic session. How in the world are you going to do that, Glenn? Well, you better show up and find out.
Yeah,
Back to you, John.
Like a trillion years of non-knowingness, and you're going to solve it on Wednesday night. I'm excited. I'm excited. Let's go to Mark.
Hey, John. Yeah, great teaser, Glenn.
Glenn's going to solve
you
the mystery.
You ain't seen nothing yet, Colonel.
Oh, Lord. It's like, oh, man, I really need to be there now. Yeah, so, hey, listening, I just thought, I know you kind of going that, the 2 ears and 1 mouth thing, but I wanted to kind of take a different stab at it because of what's been happening in the last 6 or 7 months since I came on to Blue Sky and doing the whole e-commerce thing and all these channels of income and all this stuff. And people have heard me say it many times. I'm just, feeding from the fire hose. It's just, my learning curve is vertical, and it's just a lot to do. But I have slowed down. I'm listening to the wheels of the train come off the track a little bit, I guess, going around the curve a little too fast. And what I mean by that is I had some delays that, from suppliers in India, et cetera, and then had these other channels that have opened up for me. And I said, okay, let's kind of reprioritize and when one thing seems to slow, go in another direction a little bit and have some understanding. And much like we've watched careers and business and all these things just as a matter of COVID and all this stuff that's going on, seeing people really suffer. We can't really just say I can go in one direction. This whole thing of 2 is 1 and 1 is 0 aspect, having branch plans, having another way to go. So I'm listening and I'm watching those things happen, and just taking stock of all that and making adjustments as necessary. So it's not just listening to people talk, it's also listening to all the things around me and having some situational awareness. and having a willingness to just kind of back off a little bit and regroup and come at it a little more slowly and a little more methodically and a little more purposefully. So, and me not being a big entrepreneur, this has been a big learning lesson for me. The 7 months. Am I happy? I'm very happy, John. I love where I'm going. I love what I'm doing. I love the people that are here. This is really great for me. So I'm very excited. And I think just by making that one little step and listening to the environment around me has really helped me, you know, in the psychological department as well. So thanks.
Thank you, Mark. And you know what? I'll keep showing up when guys like you keep showing up too. Thank you, you and Glenn. And we're about to hear from Koila. On purpose people. My goodness. Koila, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I think listening is extremely important. I think we have to listen to other people, and we have to listen also to ourselves. So very often, well, we do have a very small inner voice. I find this, and I find that ignoring that inner voice is a very bad thing to do, but sometimes you kind of drown it out. So one of my things that I do is to try and make myself listen to that little voice that is very, very quiet sometimes, that, you know, gives you little hints and nudges as to what you should be doing. Probably linked to the rest of the universe, I think, that little voice, and we all have one. And the other thing I would say is that we have a tendency to cling to views, and well, we all do that, and it's quite difficult not to cling to your own viewpoint, but it's very, very good to be able to take something from a different perspective. So sometimes just stepping out of yourself and looking at something from the perspective of somebody else is a very helpful thing to do, and it's possibly a very helpful thing to do from the point of view of sales as well. But I was merely talking about from a life perspective and from a just getting on with other people perspective. People tend to argue a lot because they just cling on to their own view and won't listen to anybody else's view, and that's just not a helpful thing to do. And that's all I've got to say.
Right, right. I know we've covered this before, but just the art of acknowledging, like, I understand, or thank you, or just I heard you, basically, is what we're saying. Wow, does that change the whole conversation? Really interesting stuff. We could take that up again in a future talk. Thank you, Koila. Let's go to this is all one at a time. Hands raising here. Hey, Bill, you've got the floor.
Hi there, guys. Yep, a very interesting subject matter, I have to say. And yes, at the pre-launch of the program today, there was a quite in-depth conversation. But the reason I have differing views on occasions is because I've studied philosophy. Don't make a big song about it. But philosophy teaches you to question everything. Don't accept what is set in front of your face. And yes, you do have to get to know people. But I have always found that a lot of people, just as Koila was adhering to, there are stuck in their views, and that's it. They will go no further than that's, you know, this is what I've been told, this is how I believe, this is what I see. And that is basically the vast majority of people, I think. It's slightly different in this crowd, which is a good thing. And we're all here to learn as well as listen, mostly to you and the lovely Glenn, who speaks very well. But listening is only effective if your person you're listening to is willing to listen to you as well. It's a two-way street. It isn't. None of it is a one-way street. Diplomacy, well, the old politicians' version of or definition of diplomacy is to tell someone to go to hell and them thanking you for it. That's basically what you work around on it. But being open to, I mean, I look at it this way. I went through 30 years of crap, and I'll use a nice easy word, dealing with people that wanted to kill me. The last 6 years that I worked alongside some of those people that wanted to kill me. And do you know what? I became more trusting of them than some of the people that were supposedly on my side.
Wow.
So I'll leave that thought with you. So thank you.
That's a hard puzzle to solve right there. Okay. Thank you, Bill. Adrian, how do you follow that?
Can never follow Bill, that's for sure.
Right.
He's a deep thinker. That's absolutely right. John, yes, I mean, you've hit on a real issue that you and I have talked about before. Actually, we had a long conversation about hope, and you mentioned crime doesn't pay this morning, and what is wrong? Why are these people acting like this? And I'm afraid we're really very fortunate because we're still connected. We're still connected with people. We've had examples set for us. And a lot of people on these calls have been through a lot of bad situations, but they've managed to remain connected and maintain some kind of hope and dig themselves out of it. Unfortunately, there are a whole lot of people out there that are totally disconnected. And we mentioned politicians earlier on the pre-call, that a lot of politicians are not paying attention to, I would say, and therefore they've lost hope. They've become unplugged. They've got no hope. They're probably in an area where there's no hope, and generally people don't have any hope. And I suppose it's easy for me to say, yes, dig yourself out of it, get on with it. But I can understand why, if you haven't had the guiding light at the right moment and you've become unplugged in that way and you've lost that hope, it's very hard to get back on board. And I suppose it's our job in a way to spread the word and spread the good words of understanding that might just allow people to get plugged back into the fact that they can do something. And there are people out there that will help them, but it must seem the other way round. You're talking about connecting with people's inner thoughts. It must seem the other way around to a lot of people. And I feel extremely bad about that in terms of the way we've built our society and the way it's going right now. And I'm just hoping that this whole COVID crisis will bring out new thinking, at least in enough areas to start making a difference. Fix your own square mile first, and then we can worry about other things. But, you know, have we fixed our own square mile first? What can we do? Where can we start? We've all got the power. People on these calls have got great minds, great inspiration, which we'll talk about later, and we could really do something. So those were just my thoughts, John, when you mentioned crime doesn't pay and people thinking in a different way.
Right. Well, you know, they've got examples of crime paying, right? They can look at the corrupt and they can say, oh, look, they're on at the top of their game and their game is corrupt. Maybe I should be corrupt, right? So that's an interesting quandary or demonstration for people to be indoctrinated into and to therefore believe. In fact, I wrote about this in Integrity is Everything, to believe that help doesn't exist or can't work or is a scam. Like anything connected with help is really, you're trying to trick me. The scorpion and the frog, right? It's a story, the scorpion and the frog. I could tell it. I'll probably screw it up. But maybe that's what Bill was talking about. He trusts more the people that are trying to kill them. At least I know that's a scorpion. I know the agenda, right? So what's the saying? That the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know, or something like that. Mm-hmm. But wow, can we get into, and I think here's the punchline for all of it, the impression of increase. If everything we do is designed to, with goodwill, to edify, to lift people up, to leave them feeling better having known us for 5 minutes, for an hour, for 30 seconds, for 10 years, right? Well, then I think we've been part of the solution instead of part of the problem. We're not just sitting around here like in these talks, sitting around and lamenting about the circumstances that have befallen us, you know, in common times. COVID, for example, what came out of COVID? A lot of successful businesses are coming out of COVID, right? What an opportunity. What an opportunity. I get to talk to Adrian in Grand Cayman in that exact spot every time. Very, very reliable, right? We got reliability. but you know, obviously to bring it down to reality, like Koila was talking about, there are choices that we can make. And I think each progressing moment, and if we're willing to listen to ourselves, which, by the way, right, we do anytime we get a bit meditative or contemplative, and which we're going to be discussing tonight on our book study when we discuss the imagination. Where does this inductive reasoning, how does that happen, right? That's a muscle we can actually exercise, just like any physical muscle. Adrian, you're so full of wisdom. Everybody stick close with Adrian. He knows stuff.
I'm afraid not, John. There's still more to learn than we've
Well,
We've gone
and
so
that's why you
far,
know.
and
Socrates said, "I know nothing but the fact of my ignorance." Right, and that guy, he knew stuff too.
it's very true. It's very true. I just really, really hope that out of all the terrible things that have happened this year, that something will change. And I just would like to think that this is such a big shock to the system that we won't just have another public inquiry, as we were talking to Bill about before this, another wasted load of public money on useless public inquiries. It's time to do something really practical and try and engage everybody in society. That's a big problem. Once you disengage from society, you lose that hope. Then you get the crime and the corruption and everything else you mentioned, John.
Adrian, you're being likened to Yoda. So there is that. Let's go to Joe and Gina. What's up, Joe and Gina?
Hey, Adrian, you took the words out of my mouth. At least in our country, I don't know about the other countries of the world that well, but in our country, we still are allowed to ask questions. And by taking that opportunity to ask questions, it can avoid wars. It could avoid separation. It could avoid all kinds of things that could happen. And you're right. I mean, if we could all just take the time to listen to each other and to find out why somebody feels the way they feel, it could change your mind. It could unify the country. It could unify the world. We have politicians and we have leaders all over the world. And once they get in power, it seems like they don't really care about listening to anybody else because they think they have all the answers. But the ones that will sit and take the time to ask us questions and the ones that will sit and listen to us are the ones that we want to keep. The friends that we have, the family that we have, the leaders that we have, anybody that's willing to share their knowledge and have a conversation. Conversations aren't even heard of anymore. I mean, it's crazy. People all they want to do is argue. And for some reason, I think that if we could all just come to the understanding where we can communicate and actually really hear each other, you know, not just say things. And then while you're saying something, they've already got the rebuke ready. I mean, they're ready to go before you even finish your sentence. You know, it would be good to just take a breath after someone speaks and not say a word and then answer. And that gives somebody the opportunity to really listen to what you have to say. And possibly we can all grow closer as a world and we can get better leaders and we can get better family members and friends, and we'll know who's authentic and who's just full of crap, you know, and pick who we want to spend our lives with and be more happy and successful.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Regina. Yeah, I think it's just like Adrian was talking about, it's what I would call the chronic mental and emotional state of the person, right? Are they even willing to communicate? Are they even aware of their own thoughts? Or are they just running this tape that they got from the other guy? Foregone conclusions, real dangerous stuff. We got the other Adrian Jackson with us here today. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Here comes Adrian, and then we'll hear from Virginia. Hey, Adrian J. Let's get you unmuted. Adrian.
Yeah, can you hear me?
There he is.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm just listening to a conversation about why people do what they do. And the majority of people are good people. They will help others. But it's a amount of people what drag society down, because all they want is money. All they think about is money. They don't care how they get it. They just go and get it. And the problem with some politicians in our country as well, UK, all they think about is what we can do best. They don't think of our grandchildren or then grandchildren, what the world's going to be like when they're older and what their children are like. They just want to know now. And we need more people who can explain and acknowledge the politicians, saying, look, this is not just your world. This is our grandchildren. This is their grandchildren. Maybe you're not going to be around here in 50 years' time, but our grandchildren go here. And the way it's going, the grandchildren are not going to learn from anybody because they just see the press messing things up. They just see politicians saying what people want to know. And when they get in power, they don't want to listen to people. And they need to educate the next generation to say, look, we want a better world. Money's not everything. We can help you with the money. But I think the big thing about anything is money. Criminals break the law because they want money. They want things what hard people like us work for. They want it for nothing. They need to be educated. Their children need to be educated. Look, this is right forward. And as soon as that starts coming on to the news, instead of all the negative, why don't the news start saying, oh, we should start listening? You know why? Because it won't sell papers, and people won't read papers what are good. They only will want to hear the bad things. That's why I don't listen to much TV anymore. But it's all about our grandchildren and their grandchildren. You want a better life for them. And I just hope when I've gone and everybody's in here's finally gone in 100, 150 years, hopefully people is out there who will help to make a better world. And that's my saying.
Thank you, Adrian. And well said. You know, the whole idea of thinking to the future, what are the longer term ramifications? This is something that I learned some years ago that, I don't know the Japanese word for it, but where they have multi-generational pieces of art, right? So this was the grandfather, the father, and the son all worked on the same piece of art or whatever the production was. So they're longer term thinking. Do they still do that now? I don't know. Okay. But that was like a Japanese principle. It's a conservative principle. It's like, you know what, this world's still going to be spinning 100 years from now. What pile of crap are we handing our grandchildren? Interesting question. Adrian, thank you, brother. Virginia Pipiton, where's Virginia? Let's get her out here. Virginia, I don't see you or hear you. I hear you, but I don't see you.
Yeah, no, you don't see me because I can't figure out on different computers to get my icon up there, and my hair is a mess and I'm a mess, so you don't need to see me. Anyway, I just commenting on that, as everyone is aware, we have in the United States our general election coming up November 3rd. So living in the state of Colorado, it is they've been doing ballots mailed to your house for years. And you can drop it back, or you can mail it in, or you could actually go in person to vote if you wanted to. But my point that I'm trying to make is, as I look at this very lengthy ballot, you know, it's got to be like 18 inches at least, or 20 inches by about the width of a regular sheet of paper. You've got your presidential election, your senators, your representatives, your state offices, and they tell you what party they're affiliated with. So if you don't know a lot about it, you could just vote across party lines. But now comes the interesting part. On your county court judges, your district court, which is higher, your Colorado Court of Appeals, and your Colorado Supreme Court, it's just asking if these people, these judge and justices, should be retained in office, yes or no. Doesn't tell you if they have any party affiliation. So I'm looking at about 10 choices here that I have no idea who these people are. I will not be able to cast a vote if they should be retained in office unless I actually look them up, thank goodness for the internet, did some research, saw what their political motives were. Are they motivated by greed, money? You know, what are their records like? So I actually have to put some work into this. And I guess what I'm trying to relate to on today's conversation is trying to find out what people's real motives are. You know, you don't always know, trying to build alliances and, you know, a little bit reflective on stop the hatred, stop the violence. But I just thought it was interesting that for all of our affiliation, they don't ask if they should be retained. They just are running for election. But these justices and judges, I got to go look them up on there if I'm going to be a responsible citizen, you know, and put some effort into this and put some time into this to make it all a better place. So that's just kind of wanted to share that I thought that was interesting on there.
Thank you. Thank you, Virginia. Yeah, it's good to have information before you make a decision, right? That's an interesting concept. Actually, some of our politicians don't know of that concept, but anyway, story for another time. Who else? I see no other hands. We are at 49 minutes past the hour. Nicola, let's have you out here, Nicola, and then I think we'll be wrapping up. Oh, we have Teresa as well now. Hey, Nicola.
Hi everyone. Yeah, just Adrian's point that he made earlier, Adrian G, just really got me thinking, and I completely agree with everything you said about how we can consciously change, or hopefully we can consciously change the way that as a collective we behave and interact with each other. And I just thought, I think we're already doing that. I personally believe that we are starting to see positive signs of that coming since the lockdown. And this group's just a prime example of that, because we come from, we've brought a group of people together from all walks of life, from all different parts of the world. And for me personally, and I'm sure everyone else on here, I was already a fairly conscious person, aware of my thoughts and my behaviors and my actions, but coming onto this group has just massively enhanced that and accelerated that. And I think we're probably all quite similar and like-minded, but just the way that we look out for each other, the way that we pass on our wisdom and our knowledge, that to me is already quite a big step change that I'm just not sure would have happened if it hadn't have been for the lockdown situation. And I can see kind of examples of that happening in other areas of my life, and I don't think we should underestimate the ripple effect that has on everyone on this group, and no doubt everyone you touch as part of your lives and you do business with. So I guess I'm probably just saying I'm quite hopeful or optimistic that we are starting to see that shift happen within our own lives, and hopefully then rippling out further. So yeah, just to second Adrian's point, really, that I personally am feeling that change, and hopefully it continues.
Thank you very much, Nicola. And yeah, we get what we think about, right? What we focus on, what we validate expands and becomes more real for us. And so that's why I think what you do, except tomorrow you're going to be flying, so will I, but what you do on like the group intention, meditation, right, all of that is so valuable. I think every day, one of my affirmations is thank you for the awakening that is happening in the human race. Now, can I see evidence of that? Well, I suppose if I keep saying that to myself, I'm going to start seeing evidence of that, and I have. And this group is a prime example, right? So, or I could look at all the negative stuff. I can see all the problems. Not that the problems aren't real, but how can I have an effect? That's the question. What part of that can I be responsible for?
It's just tipping that balance, isn't it? I feel like we're slowly starting to tip it in a better direction.
Right. Good times. Let's end up with Therese, and then we're going to go get busy. Hey, Therese.
Hi, everyone. Nice topic. So many things really, resonate for me, obviously. The thing that I kind of made a little note on was Adrian mentioned something about this COVID equaling opportunity. And I would certainly say for me, it really provided me the opportunity to get involved in the e-commerce business and to meet everyone here and to learn and grow even more profoundly than I could have imagined. So I think that when all this started, I was feeling a little bit, not purposeless, but I think a little bit of loss. Like obviously I know what my gifts are. I know what my skills and talents are. I know what my purpose is, but I really felt like I just couldn't find my ground with it. So being a part of this has really taught me that maybe, I was just kind of looking in the wrong direction. So it's just been this continual building of it. And so, yeah, I don't know, that just popped up and I wanted to share it and say thank you. And yes, this COVID has really created a huge opportunity for me. And the other little thing I wanted to note was a while back, I mentioned a friend that wasn't necessarily, like, we've known each other for a lot of years, but I think has been, kind of undermining in a lot of ways. And so what I did for myself was in my phone, under contacts, right before her name, I put in capitals N-O. So when she calls or texts me, there's always the no in front of her name. So it has, it's a little bit like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so it just jogs me to stop and think for a moment before I respond, and or not respond, or respond in a way that is a healthy boundary. And so we've had some nice conversations. I haven't seen this person, real short conversations on my terms. And so I just wanted to share that because everyone was so supportive about that incident that had happened. And I wanted you to know that I had really made strides with it. And again, this COVID, once again, has just provided so much opportunity for us to bring our voice out into the world and to have an effect, which is what this is all about. So thank you.
Thank you, Therese. You want another angle on that whole phone address book?
Yes, go for it.
Change your name to "I love you" or "You're awesome," or just any kind of stuff that when the phone rings and you know it's not a call you want to take, you just get a little reminder of how awesome you are. Then you just click thank you and don't answer it.
Perfect. I love that. I'm going to do it today. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up with that. Again, we do have our e-commerce work group coming up this evening, as well as the chapter on imagination from Think and Grow Rich. So I will look forward to seeing you all there. In the meantime, make it a great day. You so deserve it. Thank you for being a part of this group, this mission, this family. We'll see you all again real soon. Bye for now.